Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Oh my god, that's gross. Corey Feldman does not know how to eat a freaking pizza.
Completely changed the face of everything.
It's very unique. I will give it that.
Oh, thanks, man. I don't want to embarrass myself.
Should I embarrass myself?
No, please no. Oh, shut up. Shut up.
I am embarrassed.
Well, hey there, I'm Mike Field.
And I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast, where each episode we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it's because a more popular movie was released around the same time, or maybe the movie just didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, and decide whether the movie is worth a revisit. As always, if you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast now. So before we talk about this week's movie, how you doing, Mike?
I'm tired.
Very tired. So when you're listening to this, it's probably a month or so after.
I think they're in July at this point.
Yeah, you might have guessed this, but we record these way ahead of time. But right now, as we are doing this, we have just, survived working the Avengers Endgame weekend at our local theater where we both work.
Or as some customers like to call it, Avengers.
I did not get that one. So we are very tired. I know I worked the Friday night, I worked Saturday night, and we had 12:30 a.m. shows, and I didn't get home until maybe 3:30. I didn't get to bed till 4. I know you were later, but no, I don't think you didn't work the late night, but you worked a lot of hours
during the week. I worked the Thursday. Me and one of the other managers were there till 5.
Right.
Something.
So it's just, I know that on Sunday I was just exhausted. I couldn't really do a lot. I was just kind of laying about the house, and even into Monday, very tired. And it keeps going. The movie's so long that we have 10:45 and 10:50 starts throughout the week at night, and it's a very tiring process. And I have to laugh because on Twitter and on Facebook, I hear people talking about, hey, be nice to the people that are working because they're there all the time. Like, oh yeah, it's like no, trust me, we did not get. We got I got yelled at a couple times because people don't know how to pick their seats.
I got people swearing at me because it was sold out.
Right. Like my favorite, I had to laugh at people coming in, just walking in. They see the business, and they're walking in at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, can I get 2 for Avengers? Like, look around, man. Look around. This is not happening tonight. And I'd be like, well, yeah, sure, at 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And what?
You got tickets for the 8:05 show? Ma'am, it's 8:15. So?
Right.
Ma'am, the concession stand line is the box office line. That's how long it is.
Right.
Well, there are some people that were kind of nice about it. Some people apologize. Oh, man, you got to be here really late. Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Hope that nobody spoils the movie for you. Man, people have walked out of that theater, shouting the ending out 5 different times, stuff like that.
I've told you this story. We had a kid come in. We had a kid walk into the doors, I guess, scream it into the hallway. But you've never seen we had this conversation. You've never seen Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford and Bonnie Bedelia. You need to see that movie. Because I can't tell the story because it's such, but it's got a big twist ending at the end. And my friend Adrian, who I've talked about a couple times on this podcast, was watching the movie a second time. This movie came out in the 90s. No, late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember. And he had seen it the first time he went to see it with a friend, and they're sitting in the theater, and somebody, as the movie's about to start, somebody walks in to the theater and screams the ending. And everyone was like, God, come on. And my agent was just laughing. So, but that's actually a really good movie. You should see that movie.
I'll probably watch it. I do try to watch all the Harrison Ford movies. I've seen Mosquito Coast. So.
Oh, well, then there you go.
I'll watch it.
If you've seen 6 Days, 7 Nights, then you're a true fan.
I have.
I know.
I actually don't mind 6 Days, 7 Nights. It's not his movie, but it's...
That's true. But it's not great. But it's not great.
No.
So let's move on. So the movie that we are doing this week... Oh, actually, you know what? No, that's you. This is all you this week, not me.
What?
I did last time.
Oh, I don't know if that's in my contract.
Too bad.
All right. So the movie we're doing this week is Meet the Robinsons, So this is our first kids movie we're doing.
Yes, which is something we planned. We wanted to do.
Right. So Meet the Robinsons came out in 2007. It's a Disney computer animated adventure, but not Pixar.
Which I've got notes on. We'll get into.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the premise of the movie is both simple and complicated at the same time. So this young boy named Lewis, who's incredibly gifted and intelligent, when he was a baby, he's left at an orphanage. He's been wanting to find a family that would take him in, but because of his crazy inventions, no one kind of wants him. He's a little too smart for his own good. He's a very nice kid. One day, the owner of the orphanage, I guess, gives him an idea about meeting his own parents, and he's like, oh yeah, my parents would be the only people that would want me. Maybe they didn't mean to give me up. So he tries to create a device that lets you scan your brain and watch memories. And a classic kind of villain in a bowler hat comes by, tries to take this invention from Lewis, which causes a whole bunch of hullabaloo. And
Hullabaloo.
This other slightly older boy who's looking for the man in the bowler hat, named Wilbur, takes Lewis, ends up going to the future where Lewis meets Wilbur's family, who are a bunch of very eccentric, intelligent, but super nuts people. And Wilbur and Lewis have to fix the time machine, find the man in the bowler hat, and bring Lewis's invention back to the past, or else a whole bunch of bad things will happen to the future. I don't want to.
Disclaimer: we're going to talk about what happens in the movie.
We're going to talk about it as we go on, but
so if you don't want to, if you don't want to know, then stop, go watch it, come back.
Yeah. Are you back? Okay.
Yeah, we do that quite often.
Lewis finds out that he is actually Wilbur's father and the head of this crazy family, the Robinsons, and the only way he can make that future happen is if he gets the device back in time, stop the villain, and set time right back, and also maybe learn the lesson that it's not the family that you have, it's the family that you choose in the end.
Right.
So that's the basic plot of the movie.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, let's be honest, not a lot of plot.
There's not a lot of plot.
So, real quickly, this movie was released in, as Mike said, in 2007, on March 30th, 2007, up against the Will Ferrell skating movie Blades of Glory, which I actually think is funny. And The Lookout. Did you ever see The Lookout with Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not... I remember liking that movie, but I don't remember liking it as much as I wanted to. I haven't seen it in so long.
It was all right.
Yeah, but I remember liking it. It was also a week after the reboot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, TMNT. I know. That's the Michael Bay one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a lot of hype, wasn't it?
No, that was the animated one.
Was that the... Okay.
Which was actually really good.
So then, yeah, there you go. I mean, March 30th, the end of March is not really strong, so right off the bat.
Anyway.
Right. So 95 minutes, rated G, directed by Steven Anderson. He also directed the 2011 Winnie the Pooh, the animated one.
Okay. That's not bad.
He has story credits for Emperor's New Groove and Tarzan, the old 90s Tarzan, which is okay.
I like the old 90s Tarzan.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a huge Emperor's New Groove fan. I know a lot of people are.
It's funny. It's funny.
It's got jokes, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember liking it, but I mean, I don't think I own it. I don't think it's something that I wanted to show my kids. So
no, I was young when that came out, and I think that's one of the only, white plastic case Disney movies I never owned.
Right. That's right. They don't do those anymore, do they?
Oh, those are worth a lot of money if you have them.
That's true. I saw that. So it's also written by Anderson and like 15 other writers, which is atypical for a lot of animated movies because animated movies take a lot to get on screen. I mean, I believe this movie was 4 years in production, which we'll get into. Starring Angela Bassett, Laurie Metcalf, Adam West, Tom Selleck, and a bunch of other, mostly voice actors. Budget of $150 million. Domestically, it grossed 97. Worldwide, it grossed about 168. Yeah, 168. And then its opening weekend did $25 million. So it probably broke even.
The marketing included.
And this doesn't include DVDs. Yeah. Well, this doesn't include DVD sales or anything like that. And
Toys.
Right. Exactly.
They did an animated series about this afterward.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So it's actually based on a book A Day with Wilbur Robinson, which was written and illustrated by William Joyce. So I think that believe that in the book, like all the time travel stuff is not is not from the book. All that stuff is them.
Interesting.
I think it's just basically about Wilbur. I don't know.
Like all Wilbur's the main character?
I think it has to do with the orphanage. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it's not all the time stuff, all the time travel, all the message and all that stuff. I think that's all Disney, or that's all Disney Animation Studios, that kind of thing. I believe this movie was announced like in 2004, and yeah, started production in 2004. Now, in the early 2000s, Disney wasn't doing a lot of high quality animated movies. Like not high quality, but they weren't doing well.
Right.
So The Emperor's New Groove was 2000. Before that, you had Dinosaur, which was not a big hit. You had Atlantis: Lost Empire in 2001, not a big hit. Lilo and Stitch, which I like a lot, which I guess was a hit. Treasure Planet, no. Brother Bear in 2003, no. So you have a lot of movies that they just were not. Chicken Little in 2005, then Meet the Robinsons in 2007. But while this was going on, Pixar was the big thing.
Yeah.
Pixar was basically releasing the movies in conjunction with Disney, but Disney, it wasn't a Disney property. It was a Pixar property.
Right.
So 2004, this movie gets announced. 2006, Disney acquires Pixar, and then John Lasseter comes on board as the chief creative officer of all animation at Disney, and he actually was in charge of like the rides, or like he had input on where the rides would be. So once he came on, he watched this movie. He watched like a test screening of this movie, and then didn't like had a lot of notes. And then after that, 60% of the movie was changed. So like they added stuff, like what they added a sidekick. I kept reading they added a sidekick for the villain, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so did they add the bowler hat man, or did they add the hat? Like I didn't know, did they add that bowler? Because the bowler hat is the villain in this,
right? Yeah.
But did they add the hat, or did they add the dude? Like I didn't know which one. Who are we saying here?
I can see,
I can see them adding.
Goob doesn't look a lot like the older Goob.
So you're saying like they made that connection?
Maybe.
Okay. They also added the dinosaur chase scene, and then they changed the ending. So I don't know. I think that's probably part of. In my notes, that's probably part of some of the things that I kind of caught the second. Like I've saw this maybe once or twice. Mm-hmm. And then I hadn't seen it in a while since we saw it. So this actually might be one of the first movies that, and I may not. I don't know. Actually, I'd always tell people to watch a movie, but this may be one of the first movies that I was a little hesitant on. Like, oh, is this a movie that is really okay to be forgotten? Like that kind of thing. Like, should you go back?
I think I had the same conundrum while watching this movie.
Like I was back and forth. But back to when Pixar came over, because one of the other things that this movie was. So it was Disney Animation Studio. Lasseter comes over, takes over. Mm-hmm. One of the first things he did was they already had. So after this movie was completed, they had a sequel lined up called Meet the Robinsons 2: First Date. That was going to be done by Disney Toon Studios. But what Disney Toon Studios is known for is they do the direct-to-video sequels. So they were like The Return to Jafar and Aladdin 3 and Lion King 2 and all that stuff. Yeah. And he didn't like that. Lasseter didn't like. He thought that they undercut the value of the features, so he canned all that. So he actually canned the sequel to this movie, the sequel that was lined up for Chicken Little, Pinocchio, and the Aristocats. He said, "That's it. We're not doing them." So those were all canned. So basically, this is like a one-off. You're never going to see any more Meet the Robinsons after this. So I just thought that this is an interesting. Like we always try to look for reasons why something was forgotten. I think that maybe this is. I think a lot of different factors go into the reasoning why this is a movie that we both liked and we both remembered liking a lot.
This was actually my first time watching it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had seen. Oh, your fiance had seen it.
No. We'd enjoyed the trailer,
and you never saw it.
We never got to see it probably because Ninja Turtles came out. And we watched that instead.
You're such a nerd.
That was just that.
Oh, okay. Well, my mistake then. Yeah. Interesting. Well, okay. Then I take it back then.
I remember having liked the trailer and having wanted to see it.
Right. Okay. So I mean, I'm tired of giving all these facts about it around it. So did you enjoy? So this is your first time watching it. Did you enjoy it? Well, okay. How about this?
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
Okay, so this movie has. I can tell it was written by a ton of people. I can tell you now that you're saying that John Lasseter came at the end and fixed a lot of it, including the ending. I can tell. This movie is, I think, different than most of the other movies we've done on this podcast because, whereas I'm pretty sure 90% of what we've watched, we've talked about how this movie was forgotten or this movie because it has third act issues.
Yeah.
This is one of the first ones where I think the third act is solid, and the first two acts are not so great.
Third act starting from where?
I would guess from when Lewis figures out that he is that he's the main Robinson, that he is.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what he gets renamed.
Oh, Cornelius.
Cornelius, that he's Cornelius. When Lewis realizes he's Cornelius, that's when I think the movie changes, and it really kind of it gets a heart where I don't think it really had a heart really to start with. Like it got more emotional. It got a little bit more connected.
Well, the big message in this movie is the keep moving forward message,
Right.
which is what I think I like a lot. I love the quote at the end that they have, which I'll say it here. No, you know what? I love the quote at the end that they talk about, Disney's quote, which is, and I think that I think the message was what I liked about it the most.
The message is really good,
Yeah,
and it's really strong at the
right.
end. Yeah.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying about the writing.
Yes. The beginning of the movie, like, the jokes don't land that great. The voice acting is not as good as you'd get, like, today.
Well, I was on there and I looked at, like, I think the director, Anderson, did, like, 10 of the voices. Like, he was, like, all over the place.
Yeah, he's a lot. He's Bowler Hat Guy, he's the grandpa, he's Tallulah. There's just too many people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's just...
It's like you can't get any voice actors to be in this Disney film.
Well, I mean, it seems like it seems like through reading everything, it seems like it was problematic. You have to change 60% of your movie after one test screening with your new boss.
Do you think they recast Bowler Hat? Well, no. I mean, if Bowler Hat Guy was the one they added, then maybe that's why he
that
voiced
makes sense. That makes sense. But then what did you do? Like, I'm curious. Like, okay, so you didn't have the hat guy, you didn't have Bowler Hat Guy. You just had the hat?
Maybe the hat took over people.
Maybe.
Well, that's what it does at the end. It takes over people who are wearing the hat.
That's true. So
maybe that's what it did from the start.
I'm glad they changed that. But, like, one of the other notes that I read that Lasseter was talking about was that it wasn't too scary enough. The villain wasn't scary enough. And as I was watching this movie, I was trying to think that, okay, it's a kid's movie, so I really shouldn't... How do I view this movie? Do I just... should I really be this critical of a children's movie? Because if I was, my kids watch stuff now that I watch, I'm just like, what? And they love it, and that's okay,
yeah.
Because it's different. You view the world differently, and you have different sentimentalities. So is it really fair for me to judge this movie as a 43-year-old man? You know what I mean? Like,
yes, because you can compare it to stuff that you did watch as a kid. You can compare it to other Disney films that came out maybe not around that time because they weren't doing such great things, but. You compare this to Lion King. You compare this to Aladdin. You compare this to any of the Disney features from like 10 years previous. And on
the flip side, this is probably 10 years after. No, this is 13 or 14 years after Toy Story. So this is after like Pixar hits the scene, and Pixar's all about story. And you pick a movie, and there's moments in all those movies like WALL-E and Toy Story, all three Toy Stories, and I'm sure the fourth one, Inside Out. All these movies have so much heart and are well written, and
right.
And you've seen it done, like you've seen it done already well. You should still expect that in a movie like this. Like I tell people all the time when they're like, "Oh, you're too picky about movies. You're too picky about movies." Like I've seen not just animated movies, any movie, but I've seen really good movies. Why shouldn't I expect really good things out of other movies? I shouldn't have to settle.
Yes. I mean, and even at this point in time, if Disney's, maybe Disney's not doing so great, but at this time, it's like Ice Age already has 2 Ice Ages out by that time. You've already seen the Shrek movies from DreamWorks. DreamWorks has put out some stuff. So good stuff has still been out around this time, and if this is Disney's competing feature, it's a little weak on the end of...
And don't get us wrong. It's not like Disney was hurting. Their content wasn't that great right now.
Yeah, Disney hurting is...
not anymore.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah, please. It's friggin'
Something come out that's making money for him right now?
I think so. I don't know. It's got about superheroes.
Those don't make any money.
Yeah, maybe. All right,
I'm
so
sure when you're listening to this, Avengers will still be out in theaters.
that's probably accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably accurate. Okay, so one of the things I liked, I think I said, was the message, keep moving forward. And that quote is that they have the quote at the end of the movie is, around here, however, we don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. And that was from Walt Disney. That's the quote, and then that quote fades, and they keep moving forward. And I think that's a great message to any kid.
Absolutely.
So I one of my big likes of this movie is that message.
From failing, you learn. From success, not so much.
If I gave up every time I failed, I never would have made the meatball cannon.
I never would have made my fireproof pants. Still working out the kinks.
Like my husband always says.
And they kind of hammer that home towards the end more. That it kind of pops up,
Which is why I like the end more. There's
yeah.
no message at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a couple of funny bits with Goob as a kid. I love Kid Goob. I think it's hilarious.
As much as I like Goob, as I despise the bowler hat guy.
Yes.
Because one of my pet peeves about the bowler hat guys, I don't, and this is about any animation, I don't like the way he's drawn. I for some reason I got an issue with misshapen people animated wise, like when he has super thin legs and he's got a big gut and
yeah.
And I feel bad because like Goob's a cute kid. He grows up to be this ugly dude. Like I feel really bad about that.
Sometimes that happens,
That's
man.
disgusting.
He spent all day in the orphanage just lying on the couch.
Not for nothing yet. That's pretty sad that he is in that. Two things that stood out here. It was like really like negligent homicide kind of thing. Like he is in this decrepit building by himself for so long, homeless. This building just like nobody's taking care of him, and he's been in there all his life. And the other thing is like he nearly when Lewis invents that peanut butter and jelly gun squirter, he nearly kills that guy. That's a serious reaction to that peanut butter.
That's true.
Yeah, so it's two things. But
You
yeah.
saying Lewis needs to be arrested? You think
I'm saying that an investigation needed to be done.
I mean, the beginning has a couple fun things. It's not without any kind of comedy. But I mean, I like that. I like that he teaches his high school teacher the montage where he's building his device, and his teacher's like, "Oh yeah, let's do this," and then later on in the montage, his teacher's sitting in the classroom learning from Lewis as Lewis points out how to do stuff.
Yeah.
I also feel like the villain's introduced way too late.
The hat.
The hat, yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's too little too late by that time.
It was almost like they were trying to do like a quick, like it was like a shock that it wasn't the bowler hat guy. It's actually the hat. They were trying to do like a
right.
I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of it. But they were trying to like fool you into thinking that it was the bowler hat guy.
But even if even the introduction of the bowler hat guy and the hat at the science fair, I feel like there should have been something at the beginning that hints at them. Just a little something. I feel like just introducing that like 20 minutes into the film just seems a little late for an animated feature, especially when that's a little short anyway.
See, I thought that was really quick. Like everything just started. Like it was just like so fast, and I get it. It's a movie, but like Lewis is so willing to admit everything, willing to agree to everything.
I think that's part of the poor writing.
Yeah,
it's just let's get it going. The feature was probably longer before they cut out a lot of it.
I mean, this is at 95 minutes, though. I mean, that's where you want to be for a kids movie, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think when you start hitting 2 hours for a kids movie, that's
it better be Toy Story.
But that's still way too long for a kid. That's way too long. For like a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old to sit in the theater, they're not going to want to do that. I've been there.
I was always really into movies as a kid. If you put a movie on, I'll watch it. If it's 3 hours, I'll watch it as long as it's good.
Well, I mean, we'll put a movie on for when I wanted kids to watch. Oh, you should watch this movie. Check it out. And then I put it on. Like they're up walking around the room. They're not even paying attention half the time. I got to call them back.
When I was a kid, my mom would be like, "Here's Ghostbusters." I'd be like, "Oh, can we watch it again?"
Yeah.
Or here's the Star Trek movies, or here's Star Wars, or Indiana Jones, or I mean, I watched movies I shouldn't have. Here's Aliens. It's like I would just sit down and be like enthralled by these films.
Well, that's what makes you different.
Exactly. But you're right. 95 minutes is a good length for an animated feature.
Yeah.
I just feel like the some kind of hint at the time travel stuff at the beginning would have made it maybe a little more exciting, or something. I just felt like he comes in a little too late.
Right.
I think old guy Goob has a couple of good lines though.
Like what?
When he goes, what are your thoughts? When he introduces the invention, and they're like, what do you think about this? Oh, what are your plans for the future? I want to crush the dreams of a poor little orphan boy. Past that, I haven't really thought it through. Like, he's just got this one set track mind, and I love that he's an idiot.
What are you looking at?
No! The sun in my eyes.
Well, then let me close the blinds.
Wait! No,
Now, the name?
Well, we can quibble about names at a later date. The point is, what I have here is special, unique. Yes, you must love it, and buy it, and mass produce it. And the best part is, it's got really comfy headphones.
That he's just the complete moron, because I thought that was a really interesting way to go for a villain character. I mean, and granted, the bowler hat is kind of the overarching actual villain.
Right.
Which you get revealed later, but I like that.
But
'Cause
don't
it's
you
like,
think
how
that
is this idiot a villain?
But don't you think that undercuts your love of young Goob? Because if you haven't caught it already, I think we've already said that Goob is Lewis's roommate when he's at the orphanage, and then the bowler hat guy is actually Goob older. It's Goob. He's just much older because when Lewis does the whole thing with the base, when he keeps his Goob up all the time doing his inventions, Goob misses cost them a game, some baseball
The Little
game.
League championship game.
And like that ruins his life forever. Whatever.
Because he can't get over everyone hated me.
Yeah.
Hey, Goob, you want to come over to my house? Cool binder. They hated me.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So that's like, that was like bowler hat guy, old Michael Goob Yagubian. That was his name. So you don't think that him being an imbecile or him being like just an idiot as an old man or as an older man undercuts your love for young Goob?
A little bit it does, but maybe because I know how it's going to probably end. I figured he'd fix Goob's life, help him out.
You don't really know, though. You don't. Because he says, hey, Goob, and he catches the ball, but you never know what happens afterwards.
I think you have to assume he's okay, but also you got to leave it open for that direct-to-DVD sequel.
Meet the Robinsons 2, first date. Never to be seen ever again.
So yeah, some of that's good. I really liked Goob from the start of the movie. I liked that he's drinking
Goob's
that coffee. And
Goob's a great character.
Yeah.
I think that
Goob might be the most interesting character. Young Goob might be the most interesting character. In the movie.
you can make that argument, yeah, because Lewis is just kind of like, all right.
Lewis is just happy-go-lucky the entire way through. Always smart, never has an issue really.
Yeah, the greatest orphanage ever. That's not Annie's orphanage.
No, I kind of liked that. I
That's
liked that the orphanage was a nice place for him.
Yeah.
Because you see that too often at the orphanage is an awful place.
Mm-hmm.
But Mildred is a really nice lady and really wants to help Lewis and Goob get family.
One of the things I liked also about the movie is the look of it. So, it's obviously rooted in Tomorrowland. Both the Disney park, because
Yes.
obviously when they goes to the future, it's called Todayland.
Yes.
But that mid-century modern look, basically, as if mid-century, so like 1950s, and we suddenly catapulted to 2050, but
like
it's that
Jetsons
same style,
style,
right?
yeah.
That's the look I enjoy. I enjoyed how everything looked in terms of what Lewis was growing up, because you don't really know. Like, if you look at Lewis's time period, you think it's like 1950s, but it's not.
Right.
So I thought that, but even so, in the future and in the past, or the present, excuse me, and in the future, I enjoyed the look of all the buildings. I enjoyed the look of the film. I enjoyed all like the style of like the time machine that they both fly in.
Time machines were cool. Both time machines.
Yeah. So the overall quote unquote animated production design was something that I enjoyed about the movie as well.
You didn't think the future was a little plain?
Well, see, that's the other thing. It's a kids movie, so I don't want to, like, when they travel by bubbles and then the finger pops the bubble so she can get off. Like, okay, it's a kids movie, so I don't want to.
No, I like that.
You know
I
what I mean?
It didn't have, when you're in the past, it's got all the detail and all the buildings, the grime.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm sure the future's supposed to look clean, but it also looked empty.
Well, it's
like they lacked
yes.
putting stuff in there that they should have, like extra details.
But it also it looks like maybe they didn't think all that through. when he first gets there, when Lewis first gets there and Wilbur takes him, they show like the Insta building.
Yeah.
And like it pops up and we're just like, what is it, a balloon? Like like, and again, it's a kids movie, so I'm not really going to be like, I need to understand how this is happening. I understand that.
Right.
But on the flip side, I have seen it done already by Pixar, by other, other movies where it's explained it and I can, like a lot of these animated movies are successful when kids love them and parents can relate to them,
right?
And adults can relate to them, and that's when they're successful. This movie, I think, fails at being relatable to parents and adults because it's so more it's so just kid friendly,
right?
More, I don't want to say kid centric. It's something you would see like on Nickelodeon, like SpongeBob or something, which is great.
Absolutely,
but like that kind of animation and just like off the wall surrealistic ideas and writing, where it seems to lean towards that. And for kids, that's great. But if you want a movie to be wildly successful, you need to get both audiences.
Yes,
and that's what Pixar does great. Like Inside Out. To go on a tangent, you saw Inside Out, right?
I've seen all the Pixar movies. Okay.
Like Inside Out is really good, and like there's moments in Inside Out where like I'm emotional and my wife's emotional, and the kids are just like they have no idea what's going on because they just don't. It's above them too much. But the movie is so good that's a movie that I would show again to them. Hey, we should watch this again, or I would watch again because it's just like that's the thing. Like I'm the one buying the movies. I'm the one getting these films for the kids to watch. So. It's not like they're going to turn to me and be like, "Can you go pick up this movie? I heard it's pretty good." I'm going to be like, "This movie's good. You need to watch this."
Yeah.
So that's already, these movies have already been done that way. These animated films have already been done that way. I expect that from all the animated films. And so when it doesn't happen, I don't want to be like a snob and be like, "Oh, screw this movie. I don't,
Yeah.
It's not this. It's not adult enough for me because it's not for me. I'm not the audience."
Yeah. All right. I just thought the future was a little plain.
Well, I think it's also just one location. They one town.
I just think they could have put more buildings in. I don't know.
I want more buildings.
I just thought that they go and it's like grass, 3 buildings. The buildings are just yellow.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the style. I just thought there could have been more thrown in there. Mm-hmm. But that's fine. The one thing I do really like at the beginning as opposed to the end, which I do like the end, is they're the worst, but also I love it, is the frogs.
Oh, what, the singing?
The singing frogs. I love that they're like Frank Sinatra Rat Pack. Just in the mafia. He puts the hat on and the bowler hat tries to control him, and he refuses to do the, I can't, master. I'm very tiny and they're very large. And then when he finally gets back to life, he like mob bosses the bowler hat, beats it up and throws it in the back of the trunk, and that's the last we see of it. I thought that was great. So the beginning does have some, looking back at the beginning, does have some stuff that was okay, but it is definitely a back heavy movie. Like the back end carries the weight of the film.
I think the biggest thing the movie has it going for is probably the two likes I have is the message and then the look. The Tomorrowland connection to Disney is the look. And side note, if you have not seen the Tomorrowland movie with George Clooney, you really should.
I'm sure we'll be doing an episode on Tomorrowland.
That movie's fantastic.
Been on our list.
That movie's fantastic, and not enough people have watched that movie.
Yes, we know you like Tomorrowland.
You should really like it, Butler.
I do like Tomorrowland.
No, you should really like. It should be a movie that you should always tell people to watch.
I watched it with you, and I don't remember you being this into it.
Listen, because movies, because this is something that we talk about. You can't just watch one movie and be like, "Oh, that movie sucks," or "That movie's great." You have to sometimes watch a movie again and again. You have to like see it on HBO or Showtime, and you flip it on, and there's a reason why it's still on for an hour because you're still invested into it.
How many times have you watched Tomorrowland, Mike?
I'm just saying that it hasn't been on HBO. That's the thing; they have even forgotten about it. But I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times.
All right,
so I've seen it 4 or 5 times.
It's a very good movie.
It's more than very good. My argument for Tomorrowland is that if you had seen this movie. If this movie came out in like the 1980s with like Back to the Future and all these other movies that everyone loves, you would be talking about Tomorrowland just as much as you talk about Back to the Future and Indiana Jones and Star Wars. That's the movie came out in the wrong decade. It came out at the wrong time. It is not. It's not cynical enough. It's not dark enough. It's just not whatever people are, whatever audiences expect. Doesn't have a superhero in it. Whatever they expect now, it doesn't have, and it's immediately dismissed. And that's unfortunate because it is a great movie.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Save it for the podcast.
Save it for that episode. This is the podcast.
Save it for that episode.
But back to Meet the Robinsons.
Is that what we're talking about?
Sorry, kids.
So yeah, I also like the Walt Disney quote at the end. I like Lewis taking a tour through it. I like Lewis finding his parents were at the invention convention.
It bugs me that guy wears his shirt backwards.
He's just eccentric.
That bothers me.
It's a kid's thing.
He's
man.
loony. I get it. He's loony, but like he may need medication.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, I hear you.
Also, watching it again, maybe because you've seen it before. Does he the grandfather character? Does he know that Lewis is his son?
You're talking
when he
about
goes to the future and he's taking him through the toilet bowl and stuff like that, and trying to take him into the house.
Honestly, I don't know.
Because I kind of wanted to go back, watch that part again, and see if there's any kind of indication that he knows that Lewis is Cornelius or not. Because he would know.
I think the moment you should probably go back to is when he flips his hat off and they show him his hair, and everyone reacts. You should probably look and see what his reaction is.
Right, like, oh, well, really?
Yeah, like because if his reaction is shock, then they probably added that in or something.
Maybe. But I really liked that. I like that he found his family through that. I like that they give him the observatory. I like him writing all his stuff down. I've always been a really big fan of Matchbox 20 and Rob Thomas, and I don't care who knows it. I really like that song at the end.
Hold on, you also like Nickelback.
I do.
Just lost some subscribers right there.
Not new Nickelback. Grunge. I like grunge Nickelback, but I like Rob Thomas, and I like the Little Wonder song that plays at the end. I think that really helps with the look of the film and the emotion. But where was that in the first 40 minutes of the movie?
Well, I think we've already talked about it. Probably part of the reason why this is either forgotten or just people just don't ever know about it is because of all the backstory behind it, all the stuff around it. It was in the middle of a takeover, but of a sale, of a transition. The way animated studio transitioned to try to just whatever Pixar was doing to just get that magic,
right? And
it kind of just fell by the wayside, and it clearly had issues. So you don't get your movie changed. You don't get 60% of your movie changed because you're getting tweaks. There's clearly something wrong with it.
Yeah.
So whatever the original cut was, I'm curious what they cut out, what was in there that they had to get rid of.
I'm curious if his notes were we need to change this, or if his original note was we need to not release this film, and Disney said we've already sunk this amount of money and we can't. You need to fix this film. So maybe he begrudgingly went, okay, it's going to take serious work. I'd be interested in his original notes.
Yeah, they did reshoots, and when they brought back the kid to do the Lewis character, his voice had broke from puberty, so they had to have another kid do it, another actor do it. So there's two different voices that's voicing the same character, which I think you can tell. I couldn't tell because I was it was late and I was falling asleep watching it, which is a common problem with me. I watch these too late at night, and I get up way too early.
Now I gotta see which one's the one kid
right,
one, which one's kid two.
Well, I mean, if you know where, we talked about what changed, I would check the dinosaur chase scene, the ending probably. And, just kind of check that stuff, and you'll probably notice it. But yeah, so there's two actor voices doing the kid,
doing Lewis. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably, we always talk about what would you revisit it, or we always talk about why it's forgotten. I think that's a lot of it. This is probably the first movie, with the exception of Sorcerer. This is probably the first movie that we took a lot of the behind the scenes is what kind of hurt this film.
Yes,
in terms of just not whether it came out opening weekend of a big movie, like not like a bigger movie overshadowed it, anything like that. It's more about the production kind of caused this movie to not be, because it's not a bad film. It's just not, I would say it's not really strong. And I think the reason why I gravitated towards it more was that message of keep moving forward.
Right. I was excited to watch it. So was my fiance, because we had wanted to watch it before. When we saw the trailers, we were like, oh, this looks really funny. We really love the T-Rex scene. I have a big head and tiny little arms. Like, that still got me when watching, knowing that it was still going to happen. I still laughed when I saw it in the movie. I actually love when he's rolling back and forth eating his tail.
At the end, yeah.
But when I started watching it, I was 30 minutes in. I was looking at Elise, my fiance, and I was like, why did he recommend this? And she's like, yeah, this is not very good.
Damn you guys.
But then the end came out, and she's like my girlfriend's like tearing up. I'm like a little like, oh, like, well, that's really like, that's nice. And it's like that last 30 minutes really saves the film and really makes it something worth watching.
I always talk about, sometimes you watch a movie and you don't like it, but there's a chunk of it you like, and it's almost like, would this movie been better as a short film rather than a feature? I mean, because some stories you can't really, some stories aren't meant to be long. Some stories aren't meant to be 90 minutes. Some stories are meant to be 10. Some stories are meant to be 15, 20. I mean, it's whatever the type of story you're telling. Like, it's very difficult to take like when somebody says, like, I remember we were going to do a short film. So I have a short film that I wrote called 22 Miles from Trenton, which is about, it's set around the world's broadcast from 1938. I know you know about this. Yeah. And it's supposed to be like historical fiction, like, because back then when the not to get off on another tangent, when the radio play came out, it was a radio play, and it was about, and Orson Welles had done it. People really thought that it really happened. So there were certain incidents throughout the country that were happening where people were like thinking they were being attacked by aliens, which was not happening. It was just a radio play. So I wrote a short story about that, like 20 pages, maybe if that. Mm-hmm. And I remember trying to shop that to people, and me and my buddy Adrian were like saying, like, oh, we really want to do this. We were trying to get production design. We're getting people writing some like costumes out and stuff like that, drawing like what it would look like.
Yeah.
And people were telling us, one guy told us, like, listen, I can get you more money if it's a feature. It's easier just to get you money for a feature. And it's like, okay, yeah, I could probably turn this into a feature, but that's a different movie, because the story that I told is the short. Is that it? To expand that might ruin the movie, might ruin what I'm trying to say. That's a completely different animal.
Would you say it would Robinson the movie?
No. Not at all. But my point is, in a roundabout way, is that, as I said before, some stories aren't meant to be told in a feature length. And maybe that's, if you guys reacted that way to the last 30 minutes of this movie, maybe that's what should have been. That should have been just that short film. I mean,
that is the movie for the most part.
Absolutely.
Everything else is filler. The T-Rex is filler. The frogs are filler. Mm-hmm. Meeting the family in the zany way. I mean, this is a kid's book, so it was probably a short book.
Yeah. I'd be interested to go back to read. I'd be interested to get the book and read it. That might be weird if I go into the library looking for it for me.
You just bring your kid. No one will question it.
Yeah, no. He's here for the Minecraft tutorials. All right, so I guess would you recommend this? I mean, I'll tell you what.
Would you recommend it?
I would say this. I would put it on for my kids to watch. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because it's for them, right? And there's enough stuff in there to keep them interested, and the message at the end. And it's 90 minutes. It's short. It's not a 2 hour movie. Like, I would recommend this movie. Probably, I think this movie would keep their interest more than like Inside Out.
Absolutely,
I love Inside Out, and I would love but I think that movie is like, my youngest is 7, and he would not sit through that Inside Out. He would sit through this though. He would sit through Meet the Robinsons.
I would
Meet
agree.
The Robinsons.
It's definitely a younger kids movie. It's not Up. No one's sitting through. No kids really sitting through Up.
Up's tough. Up's another one. But Up's great too.
I love Up.
Yeah.
For little kids, it's great. But if you're going through and you're looking at trailers and you're looking at, a Disney animated movie, Meet the Robinsons, it's not quite the movie you might expect it to be. It's definitely meant more for little kids, and you're going to find stuff you might like, but it's going to take you a while into the movie till you get the stuff that really works with adults, I think. It's
got a great message. It's rated G, so it's not, you can't go wrong if you want to put something on TV for the young ones. And so I don't think it's something that it's not abhorrent to put on.
No.
I mean, there are kids movies, there are other children's movies that I've seen that are not good at all, and you should never watch again. But this is not one of them.
No. And Lewis is a good character. He's smart, he's intelligent, and he's never really brought down for his intelligence. He's always built up for it.
Yes. It's never,
which is nice.
Which is interesting. Like, at no time in this movie is them being smart or eccentric or ever. There's no bully. There's nobody in this movie that's ever telling. They have the character of the gym teacher, when he's judging the science fair,
right.
but he is never down on any of the kids. Never anti-intelligent.
Right. He's kind of interested to see what they've made.
Right. Which is honestly. That's probably another great message.
So, Lewis, how does the memory scanner work?
First, you input the desired period of time on this keypad.
Then, a laser scans the cerebral cortex where memories are stored. The retrieved memory is then displayed on this monitor.
Wrap him up. I'll take 2.
Now I'm going back
12 years,
3 months
and 11 days.
Why that particular day? You didn't think I was paying attention, did you?
Well, that was the day, let's just say that was a very important day in my life.
Fair enough. Play ball.
Too many people make fun of people that are smart and
different,
and that, quite frankly, that I don't like that. I don't like that garbage. That's nonsense.
Yes.
So you shouldn't. I tell my kids all the time because they'll do something and they're like, "Oh, I'm weird," and I go, "Everybody's weird. Everybody's weird. Don't kid yourself that you think that there's somebody out there that's not weird. We all are weird." And there's nothing wrong with that.
True.
That's my message.
Good message.
Thanks, man. So, yeah. You crying? You baby. You know what? You are weird. So now the time has come to plug.
Would you like to begin?
Sure. I don't have anything to plug.
Watch Forgotten Cinema.
Yeah.
Listen to Forgotten
I'm sorry.
Cinema.
We can start plugging the podcast. I apologize. Yes. Hey, Forgotten Cinema. ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. Come visit us. Drop us a line. Suggest a movie. Tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that Butler doesn't know what he's talking about.
I always know what I'm talking about.
This is true. I've heard that from him. Well, you can also visit my personal website, michaeldfield.com. That has videos I've done, excerpts from scripts that I've written. I don't know. I mean, you want to read some of my books? Adam Parker Mystery Series is available on Amazon. That's all I got, man.
Cool.
I love hearing your plugs, so go for it.
Just admit you like the tagline.
I just think it's funny. In a good way.
So I got 2 podcasts. I've got Crack 'Em Open with Mike and Elise, where we talk brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
There it is.
We crack open a different craft beer every episode, and we talk about pop culture stuff, usually movies, TV, all that good stuff. So it's a cool time where you hang out with me and my significant other, and just have a little fun. Then I've got 2 Player Bros, a podcast by 2 brothers who play way too many video games, where you join me and my brother Alex while we talk about all things video games, news, reviews, previews, and we even talk about some retro stuff every once in a while. And maybe eventually we'll do some live streams so you guys can actually watch us in person making fun of each other playing video games.
This movie had a video game.
I'm sure it did. Most Disney movies did back then.
For PlayStation 2, Xbox, Wii, Nintendo GameCube, DS, PC.
So if you're listening to this podcast, why don't you hop on over to the 2 Player Bros, where I'm going to try to time it so that we play this game before that.
You should, absolutely. Absolutely. Plug, plug, plug.
Oh, yeah.
And join us next week when we'll be doing the 2003 horror sci-fi thriller Dreamcatcher, based on a Stephen King novel, right? Yes. Why do I ask you? Yes, I know this. I don't need to ask you. Yes. We'll be doing that next week. Find out who likes it. Who doesn't like it? I don't know. That's what we're doing.
Woo!
See you next week.
Well put.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.